Hello, everyone. I'm Tessa Michael, your host for the Convergence Advantage, the #1 podcast for CIS 26. Today, we're going to talk about the new convergence, wellness, wealth, and mobility, and the newfound medical tourism. Today we have with us Chris Reinsberg and Christopher Scott. I hope I said that well. Both of them are coming to us from Reset Wellness located in Antigua and Barbuda today. Welcome, both of you.
Pleasure to be here.
Great to see you.
Nice to see you as well. So let's get started. Let's start with an introduction. Walk us through your professional backgrounds, each of you, as well as the story behind Reset Wellness. What are you offering to whom, and why Antigua and Barbuda?
I'll start that one, Chris. Mine's a kind of a multi-tiered background. I'm a professional filmmaker that has a chief marketing officer background, actually. So I make movies. And then also a serial entrepreneur that was essentially doing business down in Antigua on the cannabis fronts, and was involved with cannabis-based like wellness tourism that really turned me on to so much of the island. I just fell in love with it, right? And that goes back to 2018. My background as a chief marketing officer was with Circle Entertainment, and prior to that, Union Square Marketing, which was a public company that bought my prior production company where I directed multiple commercials for over 10 years, sold that book of business to a company that was basically co-owned by Publicis, and that spawned my real marketing background which led me to a couple massive campaigns for some groups like Hyatt and Hilton, and started understanding reaching out to markets and where their evolving markets were to get more customized and boutique instead of the real massive experience that was going to Four Seasons of the world and stuff like that. And from there, I became a CMO of one of the biggest cannabis verticals in the country back then, which was basically the Wild West in the mid 2010s. And that kind of in a weird way led me all the way down to Antigua, from consulting with different governments in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and then all the way up to Gaston and everyone in Antigua, right? And then just fell in love with the place. Had this idea about where true wellness was going with alternative medicines, grand ideas like psychedelics when working with programs like Johns Hopkins and Langone and who are to be involved and ultimately partnered with us in this program with, and also just where regenerative science was going was amazing, and seeing folks like NFL star quarterbacks going down to get stem cells to fix themselves and all this. So it was kind of like this brew of things, and Chris was down there in construction side and helping with me, and I'm like, hey man, like we just got together and brainstormed, and it was the birth of the whole thing, and it all just made sense of where things were evolving to me. So that's my background and why Antigua for me. And Chris will share his experience.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I am a international developer, and so we do real estate, commercial, resort development, from GC funding, the whole different programs of that side of construction development. And I, as Chris mentioned, met up with Chris here almost 4 years ago in Antigua, and we kind of worked around the island at different development opportunities. And we've finally set our feet in the sand where we're at now in Browns Bay, or Non-Such Bay, if people aren't familiar with that. And we've done a lot of development here. We actually have a local GC business here in Antigua that works with the government projects, single-family port projects, up through these multifamily development opportunities. And I fell in love with it, and I've actually moved my whole family here now at this point. So it's a whole family operation at this point.
Fair enough. I love it when, not only do we advertise and market a certain business, but we live it as well. We are global citizens ourselves.
100%. Perfectly said.
All right. So
That's
let's
a great point. Yeah, it's a really great point.
listen. You, we're just waiting for you, Christopher, to come down permanently.
I'll go down there. I go down there late next week. It might be it for me. So for these couple
All
months,
right.
so I'll
Fair
get there.
enough. Diving right in, we're seeing a growing intersection between wealth planning, global mobility, and wellness. What's driving this convergence right now?
I think it's an evolving lifestyle right now. If you look at even younger demographics that are affluential, like Gen Zs, even like they what we used to consider the luxury experience was going to a Four Seasons and being catered to. That's transcended big time to me, and this is a big reason why Chris and I and our partners attack this. Like it is, it's experiential. It's something that you take away that is like customized for me. That I'm gonna do something that's for what's healthy to me, not to a general program, right? And I think that's what people are seeking, and the CIP offerings are incredible for it because you can get the investments and passports that you need, but it is also, we're offering beyond that. They actually become communal and part of this whole thing, and be able to kind of get into what's considered a health regimen. We call it reset, mind body reset. That's the idea. We really believe in resetting is a real philosophy. That's something that is growing tremendously, and you could read about it everywhere. There's books about it, and you know, I just think that is where this is going, and you're going to see in 5-6 years that the big luxury get on a cruise and get catered to thing is transcending to something different, and there's always going to be a group of people that look for that because their idea of a vacation is to do absolutely nothing, but there is a very big, I don't want to say Rolex demo, but affluential demo where people are looking for more than that, and they want to come back to somewhere that they recognize and are comfortable with, and it becomes almost communal.
I agree. Okay. So beyond tax and visa access, how important are factors like healthcare quality, longevity, infrastructure, and lifestyle ecosystems in investor decision making today?
Again, it goes back to having something that's a customizable, like living point almost. Like what is the dream of, like, even influencers? Again, it sounds silly saying that, but there's something that's real. Because the majority of what they look to appear like or feel like is something global. That I have multiple residences. I have different places I go to. I come back to these things. So I think the idea of wealth management is the same thing as wellness management. It's having optical places that I know at some point in time in my year, in my schedule, I can go there and go do what I need to do. Right. So I think that we're offering something that's, it's not just a great place to go take the kids or something like that. This is something that's much more beyond it. And I think, again, you're seeing Rolex demographics go after these things. I think it's even more than that. It's going to be, and we want to build something that our CIP buyers can see the upside of all of it. See the upside of the modality, see the upside of just going there, right, and getting a couple weeks out of the year. And I think that offering is stronger than most, if you ask me. Most of the
I
CIP
love
ones.
I love the fact that, especially since most of these clients, I would say they're high net worth individuals with a very busy, very demanding schedule. So resetting your lifestyle and your health is not a priority to you. Juggling is your priority.
Mm.
And somehow, some way you've got to fit in your 8 bottles of water, your 5 minutes of meditation, your this, your that, and your health suffers for it. So I think being able to combine the two systems, listen, take a vacation, take a break. You've got a great team in place. Now let's help you from the inside out so you can run your business better.
You hit it right on. You hit the nail on the head, quite honestly.
Yeah, and
So
I think to add to that too, is we want people to come to this opportunity, right? This isn't just something to invest in from a financial perspective, but it's an investment from a well-being, an actual usable facility that meets their standards of this more luxury client, that wants to be there, like you guys said. So
Right.
I think that's a big,
Definitely.
yeah.
I mean, The CBI programs as a whole are under a lot of scrutiny politically, and being able to say this is why I invested in this country, this is why I spend time in this country, makes your investment even more official.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, we want people again to not just be a thing where they go stay at our resort but invest over here. They invest where they're staying and they're a part of it, and they become part of that community as well.
So, how should Caribbean programs think about positioning themselves within this broader wellness and lifestyle economy then?
I think I think this is an evolution this is going to become obvious where wellness is going. So instead of just saying, "Oh, we're a 5-star spa," right? That's not hard to do, right? So creating an environment that really is based on experience and a customizable experience is going to eventually get to your Turks and Caicos and your St. Bart's and places like that, where the version of this was I'm rich enough to go rent a really expensive place that's 10,000 a night, and a bunch of people are going to come there and do what I say. It's almost like we're vice versa in that we're giving that experience as something that's affordable to people, and then building what's basically a membership is probably the easiest way to look at it, or it's our ultimate goals is that this is a membership based thing that and we'll be straight about our long-term plans is that Antigua is the flagship. It's the ground base of it, but we plan on doing things in Switzerland, planned on doing things in the US, plans on doing these very exact things that creates a massive brand on what the future of wellness and tourism is. And we want to show this in Antigua, like this is this incredible place that's remote enough or what feels as exotic enough, right? But is in a highly functional, amazing place at the same time. So, I would think other countries will start to realize that's what it is, because you're going to see a difference, I think, in the next 10 years of those folks are going to realize, like, there's a demographic. You can look at things demographically, and not to go off on a tangent, but younger demos drink less. Younger demos are out more doing things. They need a communal because they're too used to phones and things like that. You're going to see rehabs that are digital rehabs, not alcohol rehabs and things of that nature. And this place is the idea is that you're resetting and getting off of those things. And the human stain takes in all kinds of things every day. You can have the perfect life, but traffic can stress you and you have no idea. As you both were talking about prior with the Antigua traffic, but you could, these places help you reset, and I just think that's, the rest of the, Eastern Caribbean in particular, which is I think is having some growth there. You're gonna see that that's where these things are going. So, sorry, that was a long answer to that question, but that's where we.
No worries. Really quick, I just want to be clear. So when I come to this location, are you taking my cell phone away from me?
No,
Okay. All right. Fair. No problem.
no, that's extreme. But no, I'll say because it's some people just it's impossible for them to function without it. We'll probably build out some like no cell phone zones or something of that nature. But yeah, that's really extreme. We'd lose too many people at the moment, because you just
I just wanted to
you
be
know,
clear. I just wanted to make sure.
and that's
So,
predominantly for business.
fair enough. Fair enough. Let's talk about the market. The Caribbean citizenship by investment market has spent nearly 2 decades defending the integrity of its real estate offerings against a persistent narrative that qualifying units are financial instruments dressed as properties bought and left empty. Reset is making a different argument entirely. How does anchoring a citizenship offering in functioning wellness infrastructure reframe what quality and qualifying investment should actually mean?
Chris is going to probably answer a lot more detailed. How I respond as a guy out to the world, a marketeer, is we broke ground. We're for real. You could come see it. We are building out structurally that by the time we're in the thick of these sales, come see what we're doing, is what our invite is. We know logistically, like buyers, it's going to be they got to go there anyways. Like come see and touch the ground and look at what we're doing. Come see us dredging beaches and a bunch of things that they're not my bailiwick, but that is I think is the number one thing is like this isn't some BS on some architectural plans, and I know exactly what you're saying. I've been around Antigua enough and have seen this even in other countries, and it's like, what's that over there? They didn't really start building anything. It was like, yeah, it was a CIP thing that collected and went nowhere, right? We're the opposite. Chris moved his family there. We're all there. I'm there enough to really truly be a second home, and this is very for real for us. And we're just that passionate about ultimately what we're doing. This is a global long-term thing for us. It's not like, oh cool, here's a great like development thing to see what happens. This is much different for us. But Chris,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's well said, Christopher. I think that the biggest thing to add to that too is the way we're doing this CIP program too, Tessa, is that it's a special vehicle, right? So these people are buying into a special vehicle program that allows them the opportunity to use the facilities and the gyms and the different mechanisms that we're going to put in place, whether it's psychedelic to modern medicine, right? And so the whole gauntlet of those people will then be able to use this property, and that's more what we're in tune with. We want the reset side of the resort hospitality. The specialty vehicle is just a great opportunity to allow people around the world to not only get their citizenship through a passport program, but then also be able to come and use our facilities, not just as a member per se.
Understood. So Antigua is one of the countries of the Caribbean 5 that already has a 5-day stay requirement. And we know that with the new regulatory board, that may go up. So who doesn't want to stay at a wellness resort while you're here for 30 days?
And in our offering too, Tessa, we're very lenient. We want people here. We want to offer them to friends and family, right? We want to make it more just, if you're not here, maybe your family wants to come for a week, or your kids, or whatever version of that is. We want them to be able to come here and enjoy it and use the space.
Yeah, that's a huge thing. I just want to add to a couple quick things. We truly want to see a W for Antigua. We think this is such a great place, and the people are great, and like the philosophy of this thing is it just fits perfect, and seeing a win for that country to me is amazing. Like I think I truly believe as a guy who goes out to the press and gets these stories, like this will market this island for being something really ahead of the game and where the future of this is all going, and like Chris said, like I'm a latchkey kid, right? I grew up in the 70s and 80s. Like leave the key under the mat, like, and you can use. Our neighbors were like that. That's a philosophy that's very real for us. That it's like, one of these CIP folks has the opportunity to go forward what they get out of this and say, I ain't gonna make it, but dear buddy or business partner or sister-in-law or whatever, like the keys under the mat, go there, like use this place and utilize it, and that's something we really put emphasis on.
Yeah, and I think to add to that too is, our community involvement, right? And so as of now, like Tessa, I'm here right now building playgrounds, right? We've been at Willikey's school, primary school, put a new playground system in there. We've been in, Freetown, putting new playgrounds in the parks, and Reset wants to see a better community environment, not just for us. And so I think showing that we're part of the community and want to give back to the community, it will reflect on people who want to come here and stay and be part of our resort as well.
That sounds amazing. I had no idea you guys were doing that.
Yep. Yeah, all those pictures that you see of the prime ministers right now, they are in front of our playgrounds. No, I'm just kidding, but a lot of them are, yes.
I want to get on to fixing potholes. Like that's my next task in Antigua. So
good luck.
Listen.
I know.
Listen. We need to, actually, the interesting thing to plug CIS 26, last year was the first year that we brought all the prime ministers together. And I'm not sure if you guys have had the opportunity to go to the other islands, but St. Lucia, St. Kitts, their roads are flawless. So we hope that bringing them together again at CIS 25, we had all of the prime ministers together. At CIS 26 this year, hopefully that's part of the discussion. How did you get those smooth roads, and how can we do that as well?
It's funny you said that, because like I've been to just about all of them, and I started my journey in St. Vincent, so roads in general were hopefully a thing, But Saint anyway, I went to St. Lucia and I was like, wow, man, they've got some paved roads here. Like, really, like you could skateboard on them. It was amazing. So I'm with you on that one.
Correct, correct. So let's shift gears to the longevity economy. The global wellness economy is valued at 5.6 trillion and growing faster than most traditional asset classes. High net worth individuals aren't just allocating capital to it, they're restructuring their lives around it. The moment at which that investment migration and longevity infrastructure converge, what becomes possible for a Caribbean CIP program that a standard hospitality unit simply cannot deliver?
So, what's the difference between us and I think just about any spa or anything out there that's called wellness or even longevity, right? You're seeing spas be like, "Oh, we're a longevity company." And you're like, why? Because you didn't change anything. Oh, you added a red light bed. Like, who cares, right? So, like, these modalities are accessible either directly on our properties or adjacent to, meaning we'll take you back and forth. So, for instance, if you are uh, a professional athlete and you have a serious injury and you need to do the serious stem cell therapies, we are partnered with the top stem cell groups in that country, right? And we're going to give you all the modalities and support while you go get that procedure done and brought back to you and be catered to you there. Additional things like longevity modalities, like clothoproteins and other exosomes and stuff like that will be available on the resort. Or this is all very customizable experience. Like if you have a certain diet that you want to be maintaining, we'll walk you in and go choose the steak that you're eating that night. Or these are the vegetables we just cropped for you, literally around the corner or on premise even. It's not about you're going to get a great massage and oh, here's some music in your place to play, and those are all very basic things. These are functional modalities on our premises that are accessible, and I don't see that anywhere. And it's part of a customizable experience. Like it's when you go there and we know you're coming, you filled out a checklist. If there's something that's like therapy based, you've done the prior work to go there, knowing you have a therapist there to walk you through these things. If there's something physical or even rehab generated, that person is there taking you through your experience the entire time. And if you have to bifurcate some time with your wife or your kids, or they're involved in some manner, it was all customizable to you. That just doesn't exist in this world to me. And that's, again, going back to the future of this is, and that 5 trillion plus. I had an interesting meeting with some of the folks from Fountain Life, and that's Tony Robbins' Longevity Institute, where they're doing super hyper stuff that's like, taking years off your life, or even using the words age reversing. Those are the types of futures we want to ultimately integrate and find partners like that. Say, yeah, when you're going on a travel, you should go down there. These are our partners. So we're opening up things that are just beyond us. There's going to be partnerships with people that are very big leaders, not just institutions like Langone and Johns Hopkins, but people that are on the forefront of this stuff. So we want to be there. We want to be their recommendation when you're traveling into this region.
Yeah, I think to add to that too, just a little bit more is a big part of our Reset Wellness here in Antigua specifically is the gym, right? So our gym center is our focus point, right? It's a 25,000 square foot facility that's top line of every training potential that you could possibly do, and that's more of our one of our first focuses versus 5 restaurants or whatever it is, right? We're focusing more towards the actual wellness side of construction and development in the resort. And like Chris mentioned that, we're catering to a private chef environment versus more unusable space and a lot more usable, gross stuff for these different uses. So I think that's another big part of it as well.
Yeah.
Well, we started by talking about the new convergence between wellness, wealth, and mobility. Let's talk about the redefining of the Plan B. For a generation of global citizens, a second passport was the insurance policy, a contingency plan that you kept in your drawer. Reset Wellness is now essentially saying this is your entry point into a physical environment built for Healthspan and not just a legal status. What does it mean to sell an investor not on where they can go, but how long and how well they can live when they get there?
I think it goes back to, again, like the accessibility of these modalities that you can integrate into someone who has a busy lifestyle, right? You were talking about before about like we're hopefully going to bring in CIP buyers that really like the concept. Yes, there's definitely folks that are bulk buy 20 of these, and we're going to get them to people that need it, and it just happens to be a cool thing. But it's someone that is getting this for a truly global lifestyle in this type of wellness it's a customizable experience that says, hey, you've got 3 weeks out of the year or 2 weeks depending on the structure of what we sell them, and use this and be part of it and make this part of your ultimate routine. That just naturally is not beneficial to them, but it's beneficial to us for how we want to build out and build again into this membership type of program where that will eventually be in different parts of the world and have accessibility to these things. I hope that answers your question.
It does. It does. So, Chris, would you like to expound on that or no?
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree 100%. I think that, the legal status, right, is the old quote unquote build a building that no one comes to and it's a legal environment, and a documentation where, just to reiterate, like we want our clients to be able to benefit from this, right? We want to see them. We want to see that integration with the local community too, Tessa, where these people aren't just coming, they're coming because they like a trainer that's there. Or maybe like Chris mentioned that they like a Dr. John who does their stem cell procedures. And however that integration with the community is that, we're all kind of living simultaneously, together in a community environment versus, you're just there, like you said, the mandatory 5 days or whatever these terms might be, that they might find more integration beyond reset and, have a different kind of integration in the local environment as well.
Well, I don't recall hearing anything like this in Antigua, so I'm looking forward to it. In a crowded luxury hospitality market like Antigua, what gives wellness infrastructure a real edge, and why is it more resilient during periods of global uncertainty?
Yeah.
I think it's literally your health and beneficial health and mental awareness and physical longevity are more like in the headlines, topical to influential people, folks that longevity was always a word for rich people, right? It was always like, well, that's not something that I could integrate into my life. Like you're seeing these billionaire tech bros, like the one guy Johnson, he's actually a pretty interesting dude, right? But he's put all this money in this regiment that's not realistic to a fairly rich person, let alone someone is like a billionaire, right? So but it's becoming more and more important to people because of the state of the world. Some people just stress because whether it's politics or a war or something of just accessibility for them, this is something years ago would be foreign, and we want to make this accessible to people. And the more you have CIP buyers doing this and participating, the more it's going to expand by nature, regardless of where they're from. So the more, like any given business, the more people there experiencing it in a positive way, it's going to transcend and expand the business, right? So, that's the difference between what we're doing versus going to build another Royalton. No disrespect to a Royalton, but like,
well, and I think after that too, Chris, is the wellness branding market is blowing up in the Indias of the world, right? And right. They're preaching wellness. They're not preaching luxury travel. So I think knowing the difference and allowing people to know the difference is a huge thing as well. So
yeah,
because we're not just all a $10,000 a night villa, right? We have everything on the moon, right? We want to be able to help anybody, whether it's a CIP person or some of our partners are professional athletes or Hollywood actors or college athletes, the NIL. just kind of going after all those different avenues of uncertainty in those markets.
Yeah, and we're proud of doing some interesting. We're making some inways and or getting close to the veterans, all the government veterans groups for giving discounts or even free, like accessibility for people that have PTSD or have physical trauma from past wars. And the Veteran Society is all about this. If you look at what's recently happened from psychedelic therapies, for instance, like Trump just, he's rescheduling the whole thing because it's proving that it is helping people. And the Veterans Administration was the biggest thing behind that. We're going to set up offering programs for people that are in the thick of those problems and getting down there. And accessibility is the word for something that could be life-changing for them.
Not only accessible for the health services, but Antigua is one of the Caribbean five with daily flights from US, Canada, and the UK. So, accessible by air as well, easily.
Huge.
My flight next week is $238 or something, direct from New York. I'm like, it's brilliant, So it is accessibility is a huge part of it too, and that was Chris and I's early decision on this,
Okay. So, are there examples of jurisdictions successfully linking investment migration with healthcare infrastructure or wellness ecosystems? What can others learn from them?
That's a good one. I try to really say what is that, right? I think there's spots in Mexico. Names are I'm forgetting. There's a group Beyond that's doing kind of a combination of these modalities, but they're not a 5-star experience. It's very again Costa Rica and Mexico, because of their fluid laws for things like stem cells and peptides and certain things that you've asked me, are a bit ahead of the game because you're having massive institutes get data from them, like Johns Hopkins and
Right.
USC and these big medical schools. There's a reason they're doing it. Are probably the easiest comparables to something that is, but I don't think they're in a setting or they're going to have these modalities like that practical to them. Some of them are a little woo-woo and hippie-ish and things that are like, come do goat yoga after a microdose. Okay, you're not going to, that's not something you're going to be able to compare to, quite honestly. I typically, like a marketeer, going to say we're first to market, right? That's something I've stressed this on Chris and our other partners all the time. Like, we have a chance to, I think, really be the first to market to something specific, and that's what I hope we're going to be.
Fair enough. You're setting the standard across the board.
I am, yeah. So it's going to be good. Trust me. But I do think that we have the ability to do that truthfully. All hype aside, I think this is a structure that could be. If it's out there, I don't know about it because it's so exclusive. No one knows about it. You do have like Wander and some of these groups that are not focused on one place. There are a multitude of like private spots they built, and 12 people, 15 people go as a group, but they're still not to the scale that we're talking about.
And none of them come with 365 beaches either. So,
Yes.
Or 2 beaches in front of them.
Yeah.
okay, not a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about CIS 26 and what to expect. As a key partner at CIS 26, what conversations are you prioritizing this year, and which stakeholder relationships are most important for you to deepen as the market continues to evolve?
I think from again from the grander outside looking in, I think again an original format that we're building to sell these things, right? That it's a very tiered, a multi-tiered structure of like that. You'll not just get this development side, which Chris will elaborate a lot better than I will on that side, but also you have the use of all of this, right? And again, that this is a participant type of buyer is going to benefit the most from this. And this is again all about what we've been talking about. This is the future of true wellness and true global communal living, right? That's something that word would make no sense 10 years ago. It does now, right? And this is a way of being an owner and getting not just the benefits of the CIP and the dual citizenship, but really having something that is an everyday part of your life that we really welcome. Sounds broad, but that's from a marketeer standpoint. The actual development itself, Chris is going to tell you a lot. It's going to tell you much more.
Yeah, I mean, I think for the actual like relationships and to continue the conversation, right? It comes down to how do we meet with a client that is not just looking for the investment per se as a financial gain, but having groups of people that want to have a different kind of gain in this, right? And so as this market evolves too. That says that we see a potential CIP market of hospitality or of wellness itself. So almost offering a CIP wellness membership in conversation, right? Or how this is evolving maybe out of a real estate platform into a more science-backed or medical-backed platform. And so I think that that's one of the evolutions that we'll be discussing with the other agents and the other, people that are at the convention is just how this evolves from the people who just give money and give or take or whatever it is, but what that evolution truly looks like from a medical perspective.
So, U.S. wealth managers are a new audience at CIS 26. As their world converges with investment migration through cross border client demand, what do they need to unlearn about the CBI risk?
I think it's the track records that have come up with a chunk of these that have not come to fruition, right? We are again come see this thing. Good investors and smart investors, and I mean even some of these law firms that are buying these in bulk or looking to come in and advance on taking some of these off the market. I would stress for them to come check it out and come take a tour. Like, we're built for that. We're ready for that. Again, it's not a set of architectural plans, and see that like in 3-5 years it's going to be great. Believe me, like this is something that's active and real, and we think we could stick out in that manner, that we're not something that's just a concept. It's something that's actually out of our own pockets we're building. Our skin's in the game on this thing. Chris moved his family there. Like, tell me someone else that's doing this in this conference. I'd love to meet them, and be inspired by them. But all that aside, that's I think is a massive difference. That what needs to be unlearned is that just is some racket, right? It's not for us, and it's very, very tangible.
Agreed. I think, the fact that the CBI programs globally are on the radar, a lot of people are hesitant and leery, wondering, is this true? Is this too good to be true? So I agree. Come to Antigua, see for yourself.
And it's mitigated. I'm sorry, Chris, and I'm about to throw this to you, but our program mitigates risk. You could refi it out or resell it. We could, in a few years, we can create an ROI program to you, which you can actually make money, where you can see a percentage on your actual spend on it, right? So you're not just getting something on it. It is a true investment. There is an ROI in this thing. There is. Hey, I own this. I bought into this villa. We can, like an Airbnb, rent it out. We're giving a good flexibility for folks like that to go utilize something that is in a highly functional resort system. So, we believe that the risk is highly mitigated, and it's beyond it. It's like you're getting a plus. You're getting your passport and all the things you want in the citizenship. But there is true ROI to this thing that we can structure. Yeah, that's what I was throwing to you, Chris. So.
You said it. You covered it all right there. That's all good.
Yeah.
So Reset is bringing a project that sits at the intersection of CBI, hospitality, and the longevity economy. That's not a combination most delegates have evaluated before. When you're in the room with a sophisticated investor this week, what's the single thing you What's the single thing you most want them to walk away understanding about Reset that they didn't when they walked into the room?
I think from a construction standpoint is, a lot of things we've seen here over promising, under delivering mentality, right? And we want to reverse that. We want to under promise on a 5-star scale and over deliver in a final result. And so I think that we want people to, like Chris said, that now that we're breaking ground, we're moving, we're functioning, that we want people to understand that when they walk away from this is a real plausible, resort that's going to be built, not just a apartment complex or something, lesser than um, from a sales perspective. Where we know Tessa in 5 years when they resell their CIP, there'll be a value there, right? It'll be an easy sell in 5 years to where a potential job that fell through or whatever it is that they're not going to be able to sell their thing in 5 years because
Right.
there is nothing to sell. So I think that that's a huge part of it for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's look into the future as if we have a crystal ball. Looking ahead, what role could investment migration play in financing next generation healthcare and wellness infrastructure in emerging markets?
I think this is a good template, or ultimately a template, right? I think this is something that's fairly is new, right? Um, you talk about CIPs. I mean, Chris and I laugh all the time when we talk to people about this on a grand scale, and we'll be midway through a pitch, and they'll be like, "Wait a second, where's Antigua?" Right? So, like, like you could buy a passport there, So I think this could be a template. It's probably the easiest word, but something that people could look at and see ultimately the success of how we built this out, which is very non-traditional. Right? We're not going to big hotel chains or real estate investors and saying, "Hey, like, look at this thing, man. This is, you're going to make it 10 years back and trust the brand because that's the real exit," or even like built on an exit. Like, we're not sitting there with an exit plan right now. Our exit plans are the CIPs, or it's built in for us already. It makes us a solvent company. So I think, this success could be, our success could be really like a roadmap to how this could ultimately work in other places, countries, around the world.
Well, and I think to
Um,
expand on that too, is that like we mentioned earlier, Tessa, really briefly, is just that the opportunity to potentially merge this into a citizen investment program for health and healthcare, right? And so having an opportunity to create a program with this within our resorts, mindset and concept is having a almost CIP for healthcare financing, right? And allocating funds, whether it's for the locals funding, right, for healthcare, and or the person investing in themselves that might not be in an environment with any or the best healthcare that they could potentially benefit from being here instead.
So, how do you see demand evolving over the next 5 to 10 years across regions and demographics when it comes to prioritizing wellness and health span in mobility decisions?
I I think there's, again, it's kind of a back to what I was saying before, like look at the roadmap, right? Like, I could see, like, I know a movie was being made and funded down there through CIPs. Like, that to me was really interesting, and I've never heard of in that industry. Imagine a private hospital or a real true health institute that's not built upon tourism per se. It's built upon actual true health and, and wellness beyond, like a real medical facility. I think there's a lot of structural things here that goes way beyond what we're doing. And I think, again, you show this combination of everything we're doing: longevity, wellness, hospitality, in a CIP structure. Like, I just think that's, sky's the limit for things like this. And I hope that we're kind of breaking some ground that could, push the boundaries and do some things new out there in this.
Yeah, and I think to add to that too is ensuring that, again, we bring it up a lot, but the locals are a huge part of our project, right? It's a big integration to what we're doing, and so really the prioritizing for us is creating this healthcare system for the locals as well as the people who are coming here, right? So maybe accessing fees or some kind of health and wellness healthcare fee in this CIP application process, with the local governments that can then use those funds to better help the locals that also need these healthcare over the next, and I think that's a
Yeah.
different graphic, but it's same boat kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, we've explored early on like NGOs that could be beneficial for locals directly out of our company and what we're doing. So it's we don't want to say, oh, we're a bunch of foreigners coming in taking advantage of something. Again, we're moving there. We most of us have moved there, right? So I think that could expand to really well beyond just really typically what's there, which is a tourism thing.
Antigua and Barbuda made a bet on you by including reset in a designated CIP zone. What's the obligation that comes with that, and how do you measure whether you've actually delivered on what you promised the country?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think, as just a fact, we're in zone 7, right? So we're in CIP zone 7, which is non-touch bay. And in that zone 7, we realized that there might be some, again, this community demographic gap that, I think that the obligation for us comes from staffing once the resort is fully open and running on a hospitality side, and it's construction of the project too, right? Again, delivering on an actual finished, completed resort in the CIP zone, and not just using it as a funding mechanism, but actually as a hospitality mechanism, and kind of changing again the past perception on CIP zone designations where it's a little gray area, I think, sometimes. And this is a much clearer path of why we're in zone 7 and what that allocation is, how we can use it, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay.
And
So,
also, the last thing on that too is we know how important it is to market the country. I think an onus we have back to Antigua is that we're going to exploit that this is a first to market, or a very early version of where this is all going, and putting them in our press and putting the country very face forward to what ultimately our sales are and our marketing programs and everything. I know how important it is. I've been down there for years, and and it was what always came back from cabinet and everything is like, how does the country benefit for it? And it's to be on the forefront of something that's revolutionary in a country that's doing it. I think it's critical like for us to go exploit that way, so it benefits the country in many ways. So.
and it definitely will. Last question. And we ask this of every builder who comes through. 5 years from now, what's the version of this story that makes you most proud? Not the financial return, the human one, and how anyone listening who wants to be part of it, where do they find you?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, a lot of it for us is the locals, man. I love being in Antigua. I love integrating myself with the local communities. As we discussed, Tessa, before this, that currently and actively we're redoing parks. We're working with local officials, not in a political facade at all. This is straight local involvement where we're building playgrounds. So Reset Wellness has built 5 local playgrounds to date. Before even breaking ground, before we want to show our integration into the community is important, just as much as the actual construction of the project. And I think for me, when I see the 15-year-old kid that might not have the most resources, being able to give him an opportunity to either come build with us or to come operate with us and teach him how to grow into these roles from these areas that we're talking about, I think that that's just a huge part of what I'm getting from this and my reward from this, as being the developer in it, with the finances and everything put aside. I think that's the 100% most rewarding thing for me.
Yeah, and to expand on what Chris is saying for the not just the W for the country and the locals, but something for me I hope in 5 years is to like be able to be like, see those people over there. They were one of the earliest CIP buyers, and they're sitting here and they're enjoying their life, and their life has changed, and these modalities have helped them, and it's helped their friends, their family, and it's expanded upon that. I look forward to that. I look forward to sitting with these folks and saying what you guys envisioned actually helped me in my life, and it made it just one step better to something that's a more calm, peaceful, and and more productive life. And that's what I think we all seek, honestly, just as humans in general. So it's a human condition thing for me to ultimately see that. That's the success story I hope we tell.
Well, what we've learned today from Reset Wellness is that your health is your wealth. And the convergence of mobility, diversifying your portfolio, and being able to be on an island with 365 beaches is just an added plus. So
It
I just
is.
want to thank you both, Chris and Christopher, for joining me today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. It was such a great conversation, honestly.
No problem. And for those of you coming to CIS 26 in St. Lucia in a few weeks, you can continue this conversation and find out more about Reset Wellness in Antigua once you're there. We hope to see you soon and talk to you later.